Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, the Tekken 8 beta has completed itself. It's wrapped up, and this video I'm just going to talk about my thoughts about the Tekken 8 beta as a whole. And overall, I am actually very impressed. I had a lot of fun with the game. So that said, let's just talk about the aspects I found fun and just all about the beta. Now, before we get going, just a few things to preface. One, I did play on the PlayStation 5 version of the closed beta test. And two, I did use the prioritize response option, which I don't think everyone knew about. We'll talk about that more in the netcode section. Now, that said, also, I'm not a Tekken pro. I'm not a seasoned Tekken player. Have I played a lot of Tekken and have I played a lot of every Tekken? Sure, yeah, like especially compared to like quote-unquote normal people. But overall, I consider myself more of a casual Tekken fan. Like for the 3D fighters, like I'm dead serious about, well, it's like Virtua Fighter, DOA, Soul Calibur, like basically everything but Tekken. But hey, wouldn't you know it, there's not going to be a new Dead or Alive, Virtua Fighter, or Soul Calibur anytime soon, turns out. Meanwhile, we are getting Tekken 8, so yeah, kind of time to hop onto the Tekken train, I guess. And with this beta, did exactly that. So the first beta, the CNT, I did get to play a little bit. There was some other things I had going on, so I didn't get to touch it too much. But I put a lot more time into this, the closed beta test. Character-wise, I mostly stuck with Jack and Azucena, and mostly Jack just because I was told that Jack would be my kind of character, and turns out, yeah, they were right to tell me that because Jack's a big stupid gorilla, so it worked out. And as for Azucena, I have some thoughts about her as well, and I'll timestamp that, it'll be a little bit later in this video, but I think she's really, really cool. So in a lot of ways, I've been taking this experience as almost like a newcomer. Like, yeah, I played a bunch of other Tekken, sure. Last Tekken I took mildly serious was Tekken 5, and that was a long time ago. So when it comes to like legacy options and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to be precious about it because honestly, I don't remember half of this stuff. So I'm basically trying to look at Tekken 8 through like just a fresh set of eyes mostly. And with that said, I've had quite a bit of fun. Things like the heat system, which I know were very divisive in the CNT. Now that, you know, I got to play around with it, I like it a lot. It makes every character very distinctive and scary in their own unique ways. And it gives a lot of character identity past just, you know, what the base character has, right? Like Jack in heat mode is way scarier than normal Jack. Because Jack in heat mode, if he hits you with his new stand 2, it's like a big punch. It's a true guard break. And if I hit you and you block, that means the heat smash, the heat super move, that's guaranteed. So for the big giant gorilla character to hit you with his biggest giantest punch and you block and you still kind of eat crap, that's very flavorful to me. Like that works out a lot. And obviously I want to aim for it. And for the people who knew what's up, they're trying their dangest to avoid it as well, right? So it creates good play and counterplay. And for the beta, considering I was fighting like the Kazuya and Jin army, because of course, like, you would expect them to be the popular characters. Having them in heat mode and, you know, really busting out the devil powers and all that, that was really cool and flavorful and expressive. Like, that was really fun. Like, sure, they kicked my head in a lot of times once they went into heat mode, right? But just, you know, seeing new strings, new animations, new powers and all that, that was really fun. And it's like that for everyone, right? Everyone has their own cool powers. Now, heat itself has been changed. Like, I believe if it was off a heat engager, you could get 2 heat dashes in a combo or heat dash and then heat smash. And now it's just one. Like you pick one, heat dash, heat smash, whatever. You use it and that's the bar. And fair enough, because some of the combos I recall from the earlier builds of the game were kind of ridiculous. So toning it down just a little bit, you know, I don't argue against it, basically. Considering just how absolutely explosive you can get in heat. Like once again, just going back to Jack, there's a lot of matches I basically guaranteed would have lost. If not for the fact that heat mode Jack lets you go extra berserk. And once again, you get punished for blocking against him for guaranteed damage. So it's really strong for what it is. You get to use it every single round. So, you know, toning it down just a little bit, I guess that's fair enough. Other things I liked about the beta is a bit more like Virtua Fighter and Dead or Alive in a lot of ways, like games I like a lot. Like many stages now have the danger zone where you pop up the enemy. That's a very, very Dead or Alive trait. The active sidestepping is also a lot better than usually is in Tekken. Like you can actually reliably, for the most part, with exceptions, sidestep a lot of moves that are not meant to be homing tracking moves. For Jack, not as much. Jack's too fat. In fact, I thought people were kind of lying at first because I'm like, I can't sidestep nothing. And then I picked Azucena. I'm like, oh, okay. I get it now, right? You pick a normal size character and then you can actually sidestep. So that's fine. Big characters always have their cross to bear in fighting games, right? So for Tekken 8, Unreliable sidestepping seems to be the big character weakness. So if it's going to be that case with Jack, I got to assume Kuma and Panda the Bears probably will also have poorer sidesteps because they're also big. But just the fact that sidestep is now a mostly reliable tool for most of the cast, that's awesome. Like, I dig that a lot. Like, over the years, when you always switch between like Virtua Fighter and Tekken, that was always one of the glaring things is in Virtua Fighter, stepping's a core part of the game. You're always expected to do it. And Tekken, not so much depending on the game. So basically, Tekken has always been Tekken, and that's great. But Tekken borrowing just a little bit from like VF and DOA for some of the functions, I'm definitely a fan of. And hey, just speaking of Tekken being Tekken, man, the game is absolutely beautiful. The game is flashy, like, especially playing Jack, the visuals, the sounds, like Jack, everything's like a big gunshot going off, all these big crashes and explosions. The visual end, which Tekken was always amazing at, is kind of at its peak, to the point where I see some people say it's kind of overly distracting, which I guess fair enough to a degree, but it makes Tekken a real treat to look at. Like, every hit feels big, every hit feels good. Every match, playing or just spectating, feels like a true rumble, right? Like, everything feels like a real big fight. Hit spark, screen shake, everything's just dialed up to the nines, so everything just feels super impactful. And of course, the actual graphics themselves are great. Just like visually, Tekken 8's like a treat. Other things in the beta that are a bit harder to get a full hang on are stuff like the lobby. The lobby, in theory, is very cool. I like the idea, but many of the features were disabled in the lobby, unfortunately. Like, one of them I'd be very interested in, the beach. This is where you can play Tekken Ball, right? Tekken Volleyball, if you're unaware, is being re-added to the game, but is unfortunately disabled in the beta, which good for the beta in a way, because I'd probably be mostly playing Tekken Ball in the beta if I could. I loved that mode back in the day in Tekken 3. Once all the features go online, it's probably going to be a very serviceable online experience. You know, you have your regular cabs, you can sit down in the cab and play. There's some group play tabs, so you can specifically play with friends without going into matchmaking. And probably a lot of opportunities to mess around. But once again, a lot of the features were curtailed, so it's kind of hard to get a full hang of it. Have to wait on launch to get the full experience. Now, another core gameplay thing to talk, backdashing. So, Korean backdash, everyone knows it. Yeah, it's still in the game, right? Still a thing. But the basic regular backdash is now so much faster, so much better than it's ever been in Tekken history. Like, a big part of the reason the Korean backdash ever became a thing was because the basic backdash was so bad. And now you can backdash with a decent modicum of speed. It's still better to do Korean backdash, but a regular backdash isn't bad anymore. So like pop in Tekken 7, right? Korean backdash, and Lord knows my Korean backdash isn't the smoothest. But do a regular backdash at maximum speed. This is maximum speed, and this is glacial. This is why movement's always been such an issue in Tekken, because if you don't want to learn the advanced movement techniques, basic movement feels bad. Now compare Tekken 8 to Tekken 5, and you can see a fairly stark distance. If we do 5 backdashes, by the time Tekken 7, the 5th backdash is done, you have all the time to run back to the enemy in Tekken 8. So the basic backdash is such a better tool. Like, can't Korean backdash? A lot of people who play Tekken can't do it. It's a difficult technique. And now with Tekken 8, I don't think you need to feel as bad about that anymore. Like, sure, is Korean backdash better? Yes, it is, straight up. But you now have been given a functional tool to work with. That's always one of the things I've found frustrating about Tekken is movement kind of doesn't work unless you know the advanced techniques. And now, thankfully, thank God, one of the most basic building blocks of movement does work. So just for that and that alone, because movement's a huge part of Tekken, I think Tekken 8 is going to be a lot more friendly and welcoming to beginners. So if you like the advanced stuff, it's still there. Don't worry. It's not made any worse for the most part. You know, you'll still have an edge over people who don't know, but for the people who don't know / can't do it, like for myself, Korean backdashing, I'm old, right? It's only now that I switched to leverless controllers, I can do Korean backdashes without hurting my left forearm. So yeah, that's always personally been an issue for me in Tekken. But yeah, before I rant and rave too much on this note, I think this is an utterly fantastic change. Now, switching gears, let's talk the netcode. So once again, I was on the PlayStation 5 version of the game, and I had a good experience with the netcode. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot on Twitter and other places. People were on the PC version of the game. Netcode, unfortunately, is spotty. I don't have the PC version, so I cannot attest to that, but I have seen enough to know that it's got to be an issue just by the noise I'm hearing. But on PlayStation 5, it feels good. To further add, there's an option in the menus I don't think many people knew about. So it directly affects the quality of your online play. If you go to game options, rollback settings. So I have it set to prioritize response. Prioritize responses, make sure the game feels good, like straight up. Versus prioritize fluidity, which basically means make it look like there's no rollback and there's like a middle option. But with prioritize response, it means basically make sure your game feels good with inputs. And I gotta tell you, over the 3 days of the beta, I had 2 matches I would consider unplayable. And that's a really good ratio, I would say. And, you know, the odd match where, like, you know, there's the odd skip or whatever because someone's playing Wi-Fi. It's gonna happen. That's just life, right? But overall, given the amount of games I played, I gotta say I had a very positive response. So your mileage may vary, especially if you're on PC, because once again, the majority of the complaints, pretty much all the complaints I heard were people on PC. But for me on PS5 with prioritized response on, I gotta say overall, it was actually an overwhelming good experience. It actually made me a bit of a believer because the first CNT, which admittedly I didn't play too much of, I definitely had a lot of bad matches. So the quality of the online from this beta, from the last beta, has been vastly improved in my eyes. So take it with a grain of salt, but for me, thumbs up. And that said, let's talk about Azucena specifically for a minute, because you're seeing footage of Jack here with me just mashing around, but I did also play a bit of her and I have some thoughts as she is an all-new character. So to talk Azucena for a moment here, I actually find her very fun and enjoyable. So at the base level, she's a tricky character. She has 2 stances, a back turn stance, and a fun tricky stance here, I believe Libertador, if I'm saying that correctly. And this auto parries all highs and counters all lows, which is something else. And it's not really gameplay, but either stance, if you hold the buttons while you're going into stance, you just start dancing, because why not, right? She's just that kind of character. So for me, I'm not gonna lie, one of the first things out of the gate I found out about her that I really like is the fact that she has a crouch grab, like hits crouchers, and multiple ways to force people into it, force crouch state and combo into it. So kind of like Virtua Fighter, right? Like a lot of characters, Virtua Fighter can do that, and I find that really fun. Works off 4 forward 4, full crouch 3 also, you can bop people in the head, and also if you're in back turn stance 3, that can also combo directly into grabs. That's really cool. And back turn stance. This reminds me, if we had like some of the other gimmicks like a little bit like Virtua Fighter, this reminds me a lot like Ione in Dead or Alive, which I quite like here. So multiple things here in back turn stance, not the least of which 1-2 a counter hit crumples into full combo. So, you know, hey, that's always handy, right? So that's good, and our combo routes and structure seem pretty easy. I'm sure you can do more optimal, that's all right, but that's what I got for now. I do like how everything flows into each other. A good stance character, you should flow into and out of the stances pretty easily, and she does exactly that. Like in my limited, admittedly, experience, because, you know, it's the beta, we only got a couple days, stuff like down back 3. So down back 3 is a quick low for what it is. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but enough, and it leaves you in back turn stance at +4, right? So immediately, we go for down back 3, or turn in back stance, we're +4 frames, right? We go 1+2, boom. And if it connects and they mashed any button, full combo, counter hit. That's that easy, really. She has a strong 1-2 from here, over 30 damage, knocks down. That's really good. She has a just frame. So stand P, stand 2, and if you just frame it, it goes into a whole hit animation. Does respectable damage. And of course, 3 from back turn stance. Also, another big low. This one does do more damage. Also leaves you plus, and as we went over, if a counter hits, you get a guaranteed grounded grab. That's really handy. So just a basic poke flowing into a bunch of stuff in the back turn, that's really cool. And speaking of flowing and everything, right? So 1-2 knocks down, that's handy, right? But you can go 1-2 forward and then cancel your follow pit and go for a throw or something like that, as she's allowed to do her up forward 1+2 throw from her stance, which is good because if people want to armor through it, then the way the game works now is if you throw someone in the middle of armor frames, that the throw is guaranteed 100%. There's no possible tech, no nothing. And just from base stance, she has a Hell Sweep analog, which is good, 30-some damage. I guess one of the things you could say about her options is that they're a little slower, right? Like even the quote-unquote fast options, like say stand 4, stand 2, they're all a little bit slower, 14-ish frames. But the thing is too, you're given an armored full circle kick. That's also completely safe on block. So, you know, if they're going to mash you out as far as the numbers go, then you're always going to win. And keep in mind, too, if they're going to mash you out in stance, it has to be a mid. Because if it is a high or a low, they either get parried or countered out of the gate. So the stance is pretty interesting in that way. Also, one of the natural strings, 4-1, causes a bit of a float state, right? So if you do say 1-1, it'll force you into the stance, and it'll be very easy to know because she'll just do a big clap and it's like a big setup, and it kind of forces immediately, okay, here we are, I'm in stance, I have a massive advantage over you, I have a lot of plus frames, am I going to go for, like, say, the hell sweep? Or say, am I going to go for 4-1? And if I go for 4-1, it's combo time, right? So if you mashed anything, you're going to get got. But yeah, overall, Azucena, she's just fun. Like, she obviously has, you know, a fun personality, all the dancing around, the fact that you can just dance. That doesn't really do anything, but the fact you can just dance, right? I like that a lot. She's just interesting. And the fact that she has, like, you know, good flowing in the stances, back turn and the lib stance, which is really interesting. Just good mix up, good pressure, and a lot of stupid things. Like certain things I think won't survive in the launch. Like running 3-2. Like this move is ridiculous. So it's a run move. It's very fast startup, 15 frames. And it's +5 or something on block or something like that. Ridiculous. Like, given her all of her other options, just a super aggressive running move. And the fact it does jail, so if you block the mid, you have to block the high. You can't duck under it, right? Just, I don't know, it just seems extra ignorant given her moveset, but, you know, I don't know. I use it a lot, so I can't argue, right? But yeah, Azucena as a new character is really fun. And with whatever new characters we have coming for Tekken 8, I'm looking forward to see what they got. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with Tekken 8. Some other things, I can tell a lot of legacy Tekken players don't like this change, but I love it, so, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be, because let me tell you, it's about grabs, right? You know I'm the grab guy. So it turns out in Tekken 8 now, if a grab hits as a counter hit, the tech window is now like way smaller. I wasn't given an exact number of frames, but I was told maybe like 4 to 6 frames now, compared to like the giant almost 20 frame window it usually is. So yeah, once I was informed about this, a second I could tell anyone was going to press a button, especially against Jack, who has a lot of plus frames, then it was throw. And it was very easy in the beta for me to tell who's like a proper like legacy Tekken player and who's not, right? Just by who would tech my throws or not. And even against the legacy proper good Tekken players, you better believe once I figured out that was a thing, counter hit throws are like almost impossible to tech. A lot of people were getting chucked left, right, front, and center. And I started beating people I honestly had no right to beat. And that felt pretty good, I'm not gonna lie, right? Part of the reason I always liked Virtual Fighter and DOA more than Tekken back in the day is because throws were better, right? They're such a bigger part of the game. Like VF, you know, VF5 onwards, right? Tech throws is like a mind thing. You can always pre-tech throws. You can just simply throw break while you're blocking. And if you knew the throw beforehand, you automatically tech it when it comes out. Awesome. And Dead or Alive, you can't tech throws that aren't basic throws. You can only tech a basic throw. Everything else, you get got. End of story. And that's the way I like it. So throws being stronger in Tekken overall. Now, a counter hit throws like a very tiny tech window. If you throw someone who's doing a guard crush, like anything with armor or any kind of parry, the throw is guaranteed. There's a cool effect, and they're just literally not allowed to tech. So throws overall being more powerful is something I'm a very big fan of. And I know what this is, right? You watch any other Tekken impression videos of the beta, all that kind of stuff, everyone's going to say this is a bad thing. But I'm the one guy that's going to tell you I love it to death. Like, this makes me want to play the game more, because I just want to throw people. But that said, so that's basically the video. Overall, great impressions. Once again, I'm more of a casual fan of Tekken. I always kind of have been. But what I've played, what I've seen, what I know about just in general what Tekken 8 is, and everything I wish I could try now that the beta's gone, but it's too late, I want to get much more invested in Tekken. I want to get like more serious about it. And that's kind of the best thing a beta can do. You sold me on the product. Come Tekken 8, I am all in. I want to play this game. And all that said, I guess we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Tekken.